They told me I was standing in the way of progress, that my family's land was holding back a dream of lakefront living for 35 families. That's what they said right before bulldozers crushed the garden where my grandfather used to sit and read the paper. And that's the moment I knew this wasn't about community. It was personal. Name's Cole Ramsey. I've lived most of my adult life in a small cabin by Alder Lake, a place my grandfather built with his own two hands in 1955 after returning home from Korea. My parents passed away when I was a kid, so he raised me out here with fishing lines, hard truths, and quiet mornings watching the water. He used to say, "You don't really own land, Cole. You just take care of it until it's your time to pass it on." And I took that seriously. Never needed much, just my laptop, the sound of loons in the morning, and the smell of pine needles in the sun. I worked remotely as a software engineer. Could have lived anywhere, but I stayed right here because home wasn't just a house, it was a man's legacy. Then came Delaney Pierce, president of the Ridgeway Shores HOA. Rode into town in a black Escalade, wore white suits, red lipstick, and smiled like she was doing us all a favor. She brought plans. Plans for a luxury development called Pierce Point Residences. 35 lakefront villas with infinity pools, glass walls, private docks. She stood on a podium in front of the town council and said, "This lake is wasted potential. We're here to unlock it." Folks clapped, realtors clapped, even the mayor clapped. Me? I sat there holding the deed to my grandfather's land, realizing I was the only one who understood what was about to be lost. Delaney claimed 90% of my land fell inside some newly redrawn development enrichment zone. Fancy words for legalized theft. Next thing I know, surveyors are walking across my property like they own the place, planting flags, arguing elevation. Then bulldozers showed up at 7:12 on a Tuesday morning and flattened Grandpa's stone bench. I ran outside with the deed in hand, official, notarized, tax paid on time for decades, held it up like a shield. Delaney took it from me, smiled at the cameras, and tore it in half. Paper burns, Cole, but progress? That's permanent. I was stunned. Felt like someone had sucker punched my entire bloodline. That same week, I got served with papers. I had 48 hours to vacate Pierce Point Estates or face a $2 million lawsuit for obstructing development. $2 million. I thought about selling, running, disappearing. I even sat on the dock that night with a bottle of Grandpa's old bourbon, trying to make peace with it. That's when I found it. An old brass key in a velvet pouch at the bottom of his desk drawer. Heavy, ornate, marked with strange symbols I didn't recognize. I had no idea what it opened, but it felt important, like something he meant for me to find when everything else failed. I called my buddy Ray, college roommate turned drone videographer. The guy's practically allergic to silence, but he's loyal. He flew in from Oregon the next day. We spent the night tearing through Grandpa's old things. Behind a photo of him at the lake in 1961, we found a safe. The key fit like it had been waiting. Inside were blueprints, hand-drawn engineering schematics labeled Ramsey Dam, Emergency Control System for Family Use Only. Ray looked at me like I'd just shown him a treasure map. "Cole, your grandpa built a dam. A real one, hidden in the woods, with control valves, flow rate tables, everything." Turns out, back in the 50s, landowners around here could still get permits to manage their own lakes before the state took over. We hiked to the spot marked on the map, 3 miles of brush and forgotten trails. There it was, carved into the rock like a secret weapon. Ramsey Dam, still intact, still operational. Ray ran topo data. Every one of Delaney's 35 villas was built 4 feet above the current lake level, and if we raised the water just 3 feet, just 3, every single foundation would flood. I didn't sleep that night. Sat there staring at the brass key, thinking about everything Grandpa had protected: his lake, his land, his family. Ray poured me coffee and said, "You didn't pick this fight, Cole, but you damn sure can end it." So we planned. Delaney's grand opening gala was scheduled for Saturday morning. Big ribbon-cutting ceremony, news coverage, champagne flutes, politicians. It was the perfect stage. At 2:55 a.m., we crept out to the dam under a moonless sky. Ray had his cameras rolling from every angle, even drones in the air. At 3 o'clock, I turned the key. The old gears groaned like waking giants. Water surged through channels that hadn't seen daylight in decades. By dawn, the water had risen enough for the early construction crews to start panicking. Tools submerged, cement mixers stalled in mud, site managers yelling into walkies, blaming each other. By 7:30, water was lapping at the doors of villain number 1. And at 8 o'clock sharp, Delaney's Escalade rolled up and stopped cold at a submerged access road. She climbed out, heels in hand, wading knee-deep in lake water with her perfectly tailored white suit soaking up mud. She marched straight up to my porch like a wet banshee and screamed, "You maniac! You'll pay for this! You've destroyed everything!" I was sitting in Grandpa's old rocking chair, sipping coffee, watching the sunrise over a lake that finally looked like itself again. "Morning, Delaney," I said, raising my mug. "Lovely day for a swim, don't you think?" Ray caught every second on camera. Her meltdown went viral. Within hours, news crews were everywhere. At first, they parroted her version of things. Local extremist floods neighborhood in anti-development rage. But then Ray dropped the footage. Historical maps, satellite overlays, expert testimony. Turns out Delaney's villas were built on land that had been underwater for most of recorded history. Then came the real bombshell. A man named Ellis Monroe, Delaney's former construction lead, came forward with 40 hours of audio recordings, planning meetings where she laughed about flood insurance, said things like, "So what if they flood? The buyers will never see it coming. We'll sell, collect insurance, and move on." The tapes blew up everything. Delaney had orchestrated the entire development as an insurance scam, targeted me because my grandpa beat her father in a water rights case 40 years ago. She'd been nursing revenge since she was in high school. Within a week, she was indicted on fraud, conspiracy, and reckless endangerment. 8 years in federal prison, no parole. The court restored my land, ordered every foundation demolished, and named me environmental guardian of Alder Lake. I rebuilt Grandpa's bench with stones from the original garden. The lakes come back to life. Fish returned, cranes nesting again, tourists leaving behind more respect than trash. Ray's documentary, Floodline: The Alder Lake Reckoning, won 3 awards and hit 50 million views. I turned down book deals, TV offers, but I started the Ramsey Foundation, and we've already helped 6 other families fight back against illegal HOA takeovers. And just last month, I got an email from a family out in Montana. Their great-grandfather built a dam in 1953, and their lake's under threat. They asked if I could help. Ray's already charging camera batteries. I've packed the truck. The Lake Justice Tour has just begun. So let me ask you, if someone tried to take your family's legacy, what would you do? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you've got your own HOA horror story, I'm listening. This fight's not over, not by a long shot.